UFC 320 was an absolutely amazing card between Magomed Ankalaev and Pereira 2. We're going to be going through all of the fights and recapping everything that went down, and then we will be talking about the fights next for the main winners of the card. Starting off, we have Veronica Hardy having a very dominant win over Brogan Walker. There's not really a whole lot to say here. Brogan Walker, we knew she was awful going into this fight. We just knew that she would have a size advantage, but we knew that Veronica Hardy, being trained, she's way better technically, and she just won only because she was the way better technical fighter. Um, Not a whole lot to say here. I mean, congrats, you beat Brogan Walker. That's not really anything to be happy about, but regardless, it's a win for Veronica Walker. She moves up to 10-5-1, but I mean, she still has a long way to go if she wants to be competitive in this division. I mean, she just lost to Edouard Mora before this fight, which was not that good of a look for her because Edouard Mora is kind of, I'd say she's one of those girls where she kind of shows whether you're built for the rankings or not, and she lost to her pretty convincingly. So she's going to have to still work on her technical game and get a little bit more of a finishing ability if she wants a chance of becoming a ranked fighter. And then Brogan Walker, you're getting cut probably. So, because yeah, she's down to 7-5 now. So, Brogan Walker, you're probably gonna get released here soon. Now on a 3-fight losing streak, it's not looking good for her. Moving up the card, Ramiz Brahimaj went up against Austin Vanderford, and he ended up getting the second round submission. It was a guillotine choke. We predicted it. Austin Vanderford, we said he had good wrestling, but I mean, that's all he really has. Ramiz Brahimaj, excuse me, he looked very good in this fight. He was able to lock in the submission after Vanderford got hit. He got clipped with a shot from Ramiz, and that forced Vanderford to start wrestling. He was panic wrestling towards the end of the round, and then that was when Ramiz was able to lock in the guillotine. Vanderford tried shooting a takedown. Ramiz was ready for it because he knew that Vanderford was already rocked, and then that was able to get a very easy guillotine choke in for Ramiz. So, very good performance from Ramiz. We picked him as the underdog here, and he got the win. I don't really know how Vanderford was the favorite. Um, but yeah, Ramiz gets the second round finish, and he's looking pretty good. He's got a few submissions now. He's got knockouts. He's a very entertaining fighter. He's getting a lot of finishes. So I hope we see him get a good matchup next. I did not put him on my list of fighters to make next just because he beat a guy like Austin Vanderford, which is not very impressive. Next up, Farid Basharat beating up Chris Gutierrez with a very dominant decision here. It's exactly what we predicted. We predicted that Basharat was going to be able to land those strikes and bounce out. Gutierrez is good whenever he can keep it close and engage very close up, but Basharat's a very good kickboxer where he can keep the distance. Yeah, I mean, Gutierrez has really not looked good. He's been beating fighters that aren't technically good at all. And Basharat just showed that he's way better than Gutierrez in that he's going to be able to take that next leap as a prospect. So, very huge win for Farid Basharat. Is exactly like we thought it was going to go down. And Basharat showed that he could do basically anything he wanted in this fight. So, Gutierrez loses yet another fight. He's been losing a lot recently. And then Basharat continues to stay undefeated at 14-0. He will be the first fighter we talk about on our fights to make next after the winners of this card. Moving up, we had a top 10 women's, I believe they are bantamweights between number 5 ranked Macy Chasson and number 10 ranked Yana Santos. This was a little frustrating fight for me. I picked Macy Chasson, but then seeing her miss weight really made me want to switch my pick, but I knew that I couldn't switch it. It was already too late. So stuck with Macy Chasson. She was 2 pounds overweight, I believe. She didn't even look bad in this fight necessarily. Stand-up was pretty even for the most part, but Yana was definitely doing more of it. When it came to the ground, Yana was doing good. We figured that Yana had the better ground game, but Macy Chasson, she really annoyed me at the end of the third round. Yana was clearly up the first 2 rounds, and then Macy won the third round, but Macy really had a chance to get that third round finish, but she kept going into the clinch for some reason. It just showed how bad her fight IQ is because I don't know why you would go in the clinch when you're showing that you're dominating the third round. Endurance started to fade for Yana Santos, and then Macy Chasson was showing that she still had it. I genuinely think she was going to get the knockout, and then she constantly kept going into the clinch. I don't know why she thought that was a good idea because Yana Santos was just holding her and kneeing her to the body. So really bad fight IQ for Macy Chess, and she had a chance to win it in the third round, but couldn't get it done. She got taken down to the ground at 1.2 and was landing elbows to finish the round, but still wasn't enough to get the win because of how bad her first 2 rounds were. And I was glad Yana Santos won after Macy Chasson missed weight because I hate fighters that do that. So Macy Chasson falls to 10-5 now, and Yana Santos improves to 17-8 and shows that she actually does deserve to be ranked because I was questioning that going into this fight. I mean, you look at her wins, her win against Misha Tate. I mean, Misha Tate's getting freaking old now, and then Chelsea Chandler, like we said in the previous episode, she's been knocked out by everyone at this point, and then she was on a 3-fight losing streak before that. So she's been having a very interesting career, but it seems like she's gotten back on track with a 3-fight win streak. So good for Yana Santos, and she'll probably take the number 5 ranking. She'll just take it from Chasen. Moving up, Punahele Soriano going up against Nikolai Varenikov. This was one of 2 fights where someone would just spam guillotines and they were just not landing. Now, I said that Varenikov is a very balanced fighter, but he sucks at everything. He does everything, but none of it's good. He has no finishing ability. Um, he has a little bit of a kickboxing stand-up game. He has a little bit of a takedown grappling game. He has a little bit of submissions, but none of it's good. He can't knock anyone out. He can't submit anyone. He's just there. His endurance isn't good. So very easy pick here. Soriano did win this fight by unanimous decision. Um, there was a point in where I was a little bit worried because Varenikov actually looked like he was doing better on the feet than Soriano in the first round. So I was a little bit worried there. I was like, there's no way this dude's going to lose to Varenikov. But then Varenikov kept shooting these guillotines whenever Soriano would go to the ground. And it was just getting reversed every single time. Rennikov locked in a few guillotines where you thought, oh, maybe he might lock it in. But Soriano was able to pop his head out every single time, and then he would just have top position and then do ground and pound. So he was winning every single round despite Rennikov getting these guillotines. He probably shot like 4 of them, and all of them failed. The one of them looked really tight, but Soriano was able to stay composed until the end of the round. So Soriano improves to 12-4. Not an impressive win because it is Nikolai Varenikov at the end of the day, but he still gets the win. He showed that he can stay composed under submissions, even if the submissions aren't that good or effective. And then Nikolai Varenikov probably should get cut. I know he beat Francisco Prado in his fight before this, but Francisco Prado's a freaking bum too, so probably should cut him anyway. He's now 13-7. And I can't believe I picked Varenikov to beat Francisco Prado. Like, how awful he is. I can't believe I picked him to actually win a fight. He's like the Taffa brothers. I swear, I talk shit on the Taffa brothers like once an episode. It's getting bad, but moving up in the card, Edmund Shabazian got the quick first round knockout over Andre Muniz. Yeah, this was it was pretty obvious here. We picked Edmund Shabazian to win by a quick knockout, and he did. Shabazian was looking very good on the feet. We knew he was a very technical kickboxer with some pretty decent power. We knew that if it went to the ground, he'd still have a very good chance as well. Muniz started mixing in these body kicks in the middle of the round where it looks like he could kind of make it a closer first round, but then he got way too confident and started trying to be aggressive and pushing the pace. And then Shabazian was able to take it over at the very end of the first round, clipped him with a left hook. Muniz fell down, and then he landed punches and elbows to get the first round TKO. So Edmund Shabazian gets the first round finish. I'm really glad he's back because he is a very fun fighter to watch. I know he had that very, very unfortunate run but he was 20 at the time when he went on that losing streak. So he's back now. He's a little bit older now. I believe he's 27 now, so he's a lot older. And I don't know. I think it's gonna be a little bit different for him now. I think he's gonna be able to get into ranked contention and really show that he can hang with these contenders. But very good finish for him against Andre Muniz. Muniz falls to 24-8, and he's now on a 2-fight losing streak. He's lost 4 of his last 5. Not a very good look for him. So he's gonna really have to either get a big fall off an opponent or get cut. Jakob Viklatz versus Patchy Mix. I'm going to send Patchy Mix a Chinese dictionary. We're going to send him to Ryzen, and he is going to be cut from the UFC because this dude is the worst fucking fighter I have ever seen in my life. This was the perfect matchup for Patchy Mix, yet he still managed to lose this fight. And in the third round, he had every single way to win that round, or excuse me, win the fight, and yet somehow he did not do it. Jakob lost all of his endurance after the first round. Patchy Mix should have even been able to win the second round convincingly. Mix won the third round convincingly, I'd say. Second round, it was a toss-up, but I'd probably give it to Jakob because he did damage on the feet. Yes, Patchy Mix had 1 minute of control time, but he did nothing with that control time. So Jakob did win the fight. It was a very close fight overall, but either way, Patchy Mix looked awful in this fight. It was the perfect wrestling matchup for him because he could show that his wrestling was dominant, but yet he somehow I would say he got out wrestled, but his wrestling was not dominant in this fight. Jakob had good moments in it. Jakob shot probably 10 guillotines and couldn't lock in a single one, so it's not like he had an incredible performance either. Jakob's stand up we knew was going to be better than Patchy's, but he just looked awful. Patchy Mix is terrible. He's 0-2 in the UFC now. They better cut him or just, feed him someone to get his confidence up because I don't know what I just watched from him, but that was a terrible performance again. So he does not deserve to be in the UFC. And this is just convincing me yet again why we should not hype up anyone. Anyone that's considered a prospect coming in the UFC, do not buy into it unless if you after their first fight compare them to how they beat their opponent in their first fight or how they lose to their opponent, and then you can hype them up because Patchy Mix was hyped up so much. I mean, for good reason. He beat Sergio Pettis, who was a top ranked flyweight back then, a while ago. It was like 7 or 8 years ago. So he used to be a ranked flyweight. He was like top 5 at one point, and then he moved over to Bellator. So it's not like Patchy Mix has a bad resume. So I don't know why he just sucks in the UFC, but it continues to show that there's levels to this game, and UFC is just so much more dominant than everyone else. In terms for Jakob Viklatz, I mean, it's a tough stylistic matchup for your UFC debut, but overall, it's not a very good opponent. But still, it's a good one for Jakob Viklatz in his UFC debut. It's going to be interesting to see who they match him up with, but his stand-up is very impressive. He just really needs to work on his endurance because it got a little scary for him in the later rounds. And he needs to work on his guillotine choke, apparently, because he could not lock that in at all. So Jakob moves up to 17-3-2. Patchy Mix moves down to 20-3. Cut Patchy Mix, give Jakob a slightly better opponent, but not huge. I definitely wouldn't give him a ranked opponent because Patchy Mix, I don't think that deserves the worthy of fighting a ranked opponent just yet. Moving up, Daniel Santos fought Ju Sang Yu. We picked Ju Sang Yu as the underdog, and unfortunately, he got too cocky and showed why you do not showboat. Daniel Santos was getting clipped in the first round. Ju Sang Yu was dominating the first round, keeping the outside distance while landing these strong, powerful punches. It looked like he dazed Daniel Santos a little bit in the first round, and then Ju Sang Yu started showboating. Santos did land a takedown at the end of the first round, but he didn't really do anything with it, so Ju Sang Yu clearly won the round. Ju Sang Yu literally put his hand on his chin and he was just waiting there, acting like, why is this dude taking me down and doing nothing with it? Like, why is this guy being boring? So trying to hype up the crowd, I get, but it would come to haunt him because in the second round, Ju Sang Yu keeps his hands down to his hips, and I hate fighters that do that, and I shouldn't have picked him just for that simple reason. I pick against those guys all the time, but I thought Ju Sang Yu would be able to keep the distance the entire fight until he got the knockout. But Ju Sang Yu, he for some reason completely stopped keeping the distance. It's probably because he realized, oh, Daniel Santos isn't going to throw anything because I'm just going to keep peppering him. And then for some reason, Ju Sang Yu just, he kept getting way too close to Daniel Santos, and Santos was able to clip him with a left hook, and then he went out cold. So Daniel Santos gets the win here. This was a close pick for me, though, so it's not like I was solely high on Ju Sang Yu, but bad luck for Ju Sang Yu. I know if he won this fight, he would have been hyped up like crazy after his clean counter knockout the fight before, and then getting probably another highlight knockout if he kept the distance again. But Daniel Santos was able to close the distance and get the knockout. So big win for Daniel Santos, derailing the hype of another Asian prospect. like I said, I don't like Asian prospects, but it looked like Ju Sang Yu was going to be a good fighter, which sucks too because he's really good at keeping the distance in his previous fight. And then this fight, he just got way too comfortable and way too cocky. So Daniel Santos gets the second round knockout and shuts up Ju Sang Yu. So good one for him. Moving up, Atiba Gauthier versus Tristan Vines. Tristan Vines, I don't know what this dude was doing. This was my lock of the week, and Atiba Gauthier proved why he should have been. He was a minus 1,400 favorite going into the fight, and he got the first round knockout like we predicted. Tristan Vines was running from him the entire fight for good reason. It seemed like he was just trying to survive the first round, which it was not going to happen. And Gaultier was walking him down the entire fight, and then Tristan Vines would run on the outside of the cage to try and get away from him. It was so funny. And then finally, Vines tried shooting a takedown. Gaultier was backing up, and Vines literally just chased him with his head straight down. And then Gaultier hit him with a knee, stunned. He stunned Vines, excuse me, and then he like threw him to the ground. It was obviously the knee that stunned him, but for some reason Joe Rogan was saying that it was the throw. He was saying that he got knocked out by a throw. It was clearly not, but Gaultier threw him down after kneeing him in the face when he was shooting for the takedown, and then landed ground and pound to get the first round TKO. Very easy pick here, and I don't know. I really need to see a step up here because they're just feeding Gaultier these trash fighters, and it's entertaining to watch him knock everyone out, but we want to see him against these high level fighters. So I gave him a very worthy opponent in his next fight because he's been fed to three ass fighters between Jose Medina, Robert Valentin, and now Tristan Vines. All three of them are awful, and none of them deserve to be in the UFC. I think Jose Medina just got cut or will be getting cut because he's on like a 4-fight or 5-fight losing streak. But Gaultier gets the first round knockout like we predicted and rounded off a very entertaining prelims card. Overall, this was a very good card. I'd probably give this card, in terms of entertainment, I'd probably give it like an 8.5. It was a very good card. Crowd is why I couldn't really give it that much higher. Crowd kept booing after someone would get taken down. It'd be like the first minute of the fight or the first minute of the round, and people would immediately start booing. It's like you don't even know how the rest of the round's gonna go. If it's like they're just staying there laying on the ground, then you can start booing. But they were booing after someone would shoot a takedown, and it just got really annoying. But moving on to the main card, the opener for the main card was Joe Pyfer and Abus Magomedov. We picked Joe Pyfer to win this fight. We picked knockout, I believe, in the first or second round. I think I picked second round. Wasn't a knockout, it was a submission, but still, regardless, we got the prediction right. We picked Joe Pyfer here solely because Magomedov has looked a lot more conservative. And Pyfer just has very powerful knockout power, but he showed a submission game here. Magomedov looked very good in the first round. It was a very split first round, whether you could give it for Magomedov or Pyfer. I personally would honestly probably maybe give it to Magomedov, but you could tell that Pyfer was going to take advantage in the second round because he started looking better in the later round, trying to like find his range. But the first round, Magomedov was conservative, but he was still throwing more than Pyfer, which was kind of weird because I thought Pyfer was going to go out there and just get the knockout very easily. But Magomedov was actually throwing more than him in the first round, or at least it seemed. I don't have the numbers on it, but Magomedov was doing very good with his kickboxing. His kicks were doing pretty good against Pyfer. Worried me a little bit, but then the second round, Pyfer was able to clip him. He started finding his range, and he was able to get inside and clip him with a shot. And then I believe Magomed tried shooting. I think Magomed shot a takedown, and he actually took Pyfer down, but then Magomedov went for, I think it was a guillotine or, no, it was an armbar, excuse me. Magomedov went for an armbar. Pyfer was able to reverse it and then put in a rune. Sorry, I keep getting it wrong because there's so many fights on this card. Pyfer put Magomedov in an armbar because he had top position. So he put him in an armbar, but Magomedov was able to get out of it. But that resulted in Pyfer being able to take control of the back and lock in the rear naked. It looked like it was more on the chin, so it was very impressive submission here because it didn't really look like it was all that under his chin, but you could tell it was hurting Magomedov because he stopped moving and he was just waiting to tap. So Pyfer gets the second round submission against a very good unranked fighter in his division. So expect Pyfer to be fighting potentially ranked fighter. We'll see who I gave him next. But moving up, Yusuf Zalal beating up Josh Emmett very quickly with a submission armbar in the first round. I did not expect this. I'm gonna be honest. I knew Zalal was going to be able to keep the distance, but I didn't really think he was going to go to the ground and get an armbar. Emmett, I thought the only way Emmett really had a chance here was if he tried going to the wrestling, but Zalal surprised me. When it got taken to the ground, Zalal got a hold of the arm, and it was weird. Josh Emmett tried getting up while Zalal had a control of his arm, and it looked like he was about to break Emmett's arm if Emmett didn't uh, tap. So Emmett had to verbally tap. He was like, tap, 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 because his arm was about to break because Zalal still had a hold of it while Emmett was trying to get up. So very sneaky submission there. A lot of the crowd, people in the crowd had no clue what even happened because the ref waved off the fight and no one saw him tap. So everyone was so confused. But yeah, he verbally tapped, which was very impressive because we have not seen Emmett really get finished all that much. I know we watched him get tapped to Yair not that long ago. I think that was his last fight, but we don't see him get finished a whole lot. So for him to get finished in his past two fights is not a good look, but huge win for Yusuf Zalal. He showed that he deserves to be ranked. I was kind of questioning it going into this fight because his best win was Calvin Kattar, who's on the 4-fight losing streak now, I believe. So Yusuf Zalal gets an impressive first round submission, the most dominant win we've seen against Josh Emmett to date. So, and expect Yusuf Zalal to get a big step up in his next fight again, because that was a very impressive performance. Moving on to the fight of the night and performance of the night all at once. Yuri Prochazka beating Khalil Rountree in the third round, and we predicted this fight exactly how it went down. We knew that the earlier rounds, we knew that Rountree's leg kicks were going to be the killer in the first few rounds because Yuri was going to kind of be conservative in the beginning. Rountree was throwing more strikes and he was landing, and it looked like he was going to have a very clean 30-27 decision. But Yuri, in the third round, we said that he was just going to throw technique out the window and he was just going to go in for the knockout. And that's exactly what he did in the third round. He got the knockout. He pressured him like crazy in the third round, but it was kind of weird. He looked very off in this fight. His style looked a little bit different. His footing kept messing up. He kept tripping over his own feet. I didn't know if something was wrong with his foot or not because I knew that Rountree was kicking at his leg, so I didn't know if like something was wrong with his leg at all. But he was tripping over his own feet. He was getting caught with a bunch of punches that I knew he was gonna get hit a lot in this fight, but I didn't think it was gonna be anything that stuns him. But you saw in the second round, Prochazka got clipped from Rountree. He like turned around for a moment. He was like shit, and then he turned around and started fighting Rountree again. That was such a funny moment in the fight because he's like, I should not be getting hurt by this guy. And then the third round comes. He knew he was down 2-0, rushed in for the knockout. And Rountree, like I said in the predictions episode, Rountree cannot handle fighters that have very powerful hands and that apply pressure. So Prochazka did exactly what he needed to do in that third round to have a chance to win the fight, and it went his way. He was able to hit him with a clean left hook after landing a nice combination with Rountree up against the cage. And Rountree went out cold. He literally got frozen like a statue and fell right to the ground. It was a very clean knockout for Prochazka. Shows again why he's one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC currently, and his resume continues to grow as he's only lost to Alex Pereira twice. So Yuri improves to 32-5-1, and he will be looking for another title shot soon. Moving on to the co-main between Merab Dvalishvili and Corey Sandhagen, we picked Merab to win by a dominant decision, and that's exactly what happened here. First round, it was kind of concerning, though, because Sandhagen did win the first round. He was able to keep the distance, like we said, and he was able to land nice kicks and nice combinations on Merab, and it looked like he might be able to even finish Merab on the feet throughout certain points of this fight, but Merab just said, screw it, we're going to go to the ground in the second round. He shot so many takedowns for the rest of the fight, and he showed why he continues to just have the best endurance of all time. And I think he broke the record for the most takedowns ever completed in UFC history. He landed over 100 now in his career. I think he had 11 or no, he beat his record for most in the fight. I think he had 14 in this fight. Just a bad look for Sandhagen and his ground game. We've seen what his weakness is, and it was unfortunate because Sandhagen was actually doing really good on the feet. There was a point in the second round where Merab he rocked Sandhagen on the feet, but he wasn't able to finish Sandhagen. And I do think Merab does have pillow hands. Don't get me wrong. He did rock Sandhagen, but he wasn't able to put him away, even though he was landing so many strikes after wobbling him. He landed like a 10-punch combination after wobbling him, and he still wasn't able to put him out. So I don't know. I don't think Merab has that stand-up finishing ability, even though he did rock Sandhagen. So that's something we got to kind of look into. But that really just threw Sandhagen off for the rest of the fight. He couldn't stop any of the takedowns anymore. His stand-up wasn't as clean as it was originally, so Merab was winning the stand-up at this point, and just a very dominant decision for Merab. I think Merab even won a 10-8 for some of the judges in the third round, I believe, or maybe it was the second round, but Merab had a very dominant decision win. He's on a 3-title defense reign now, and he's only continuing to show why he might be considered the best bantamweight of all time. Moving on to the main event. If only Pereira did this every single fight. He annoys me. We picked Magomed Ankalaev to win this fight, but Pereira ended up knocking him out in the first 2 minutes of the fight. Pereira just needs to take the approach that Tom Aspinall does. Tom Aspinall just says, screw it. I'm going to be conservative for a little bit, and then I'm going to rush in and go for the kill. Like, I just wish Alex Pereira did that exact same thing, because Pereira showed that he can do this to literally anyone, and he needs to stop doing this conservative shit, because he was conservative against Khalil Roundtree in their fight, and Roundtree was beating him for like the first 3 rounds of the fight. And then Pereira's like, all right, I need to go out there and knock him out because he's beating me in rounds. So 4th round comes, Pereira rushes in, starts being aggressive, knocks out Roundtree. Same thing happens here. First fight, he fought conservatively, and he looked awful, and he lost the fight. Then the second fight comes, he's like, all right, screw it. I just need to be aggressive. He comes in aggressively, goes in and immediately puts the pressure on Magomed Ankalaev, doesn't let Ankalaev be comfortable throughout a second of this fight, and gets the knockout. Pierre hit him with a clean overhand right, and then that stumbled Ankalaev and forced him to shoot a takedown. And then when he shot the takedown, it failed, so Pierre was on top. And then he landed these vicious ground elbows to get the finish. So, very huge win for Pierre to get his belt back. Really hoping that he does move up to heavyweight in the future, potentially for the White House card. But get Pierre back in there soon, honestly. He's known for fighting a lot and very quickly after big wins. So, put him back in there after like 2 or 3 months, because he's shown that he can do it time and time again. He saved many cards after fighting previously. So, huge win for him, capping off a very entertaining night. It's a very fun UFC 320 card. Merab, like I said, he improved to a 3 defense reign. Pierre retained his belt. He also got performance of the night, of course. Joe Pyfer also got a performance of the night. And then Yuri got 2 time awards for fight of the night and performance of the night. So, very good card. We're now going to be talking about the fights I would make next for the winners. For Pierre, I think it's very obvious here. I think it's very obvious that you give him Carlos Ulberg. We don't want to see Pierre versus Yuri Prochka 3, unless if Prochka proves that there is absolutely no one else in this division. But Ulberg has shown that he deserves a shot. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait so long for Pierre to get his next fight in. So give Ulberg the shot, man. I mean, he looked very, very good in the Dominic Reyes fight. I know the Jan Blachowicz fight before that was kind of iffy, but I feel like that's the best matchup you can make for Pierre at this point. We'll talk about who I would give Yuri, but I think that's the best matchup for Pierre right now. It's kind of a conservative kickboxer, kind of similar to Pierre's style. So it's going to be an interesting kickboxing matchup between them. And I think it would just add on to Pierre's resume, because Ulberg looks very, very good right now. So give Pierre Carlos Ulberg in like 2 to 3 months to round off the year or to start the new year. Maybe that could be the first fight on the Paramount pay-per-view, whatever card that's going to be. So that's what I'd give Alex Pierre. But moving on to Merab. Merab said he wants to fight again before the end of the year in December. It sounds like Joe Rogan was kind of shutting that down, even though it's not his decision whatsoever. But Merab called out Peter Yan, and I think that's the perfect matchup for him. I think Peter Yan has shown that he deserves a rematch, and I mean he beat Davison Figueiredo, and he just beat the prospect in Marcus McGee. So I think he's kind of shown that he's ready for another title shot. He debatably beat Sean O'Malley as well, which kind of threw him down the rankings a little bit and made him have to kind of climb his way back up. But Rob called him out. Pereira's shown that he deserves it, and he looks like he's improved. And it would be another very fun matchup for Marab. I think it's a good matchup for Marab, though. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be a bad stylistic matchup. So Marab should be able to pull off the win in the rematch, but that's what I'd give it to, honestly. It'd be a very entertaining card. So give me Marab versus Pereira too. For Yuri, like we said, I don't want to do Yuri versus Pierre 3 yet, so I'm going to do Yuri Prochazka versus Magomed Ankalaev. There's rumors going on that people are saying that Ankalaev's going to get traded to Bellator. Excuse me. People are saying that Magomed Ankalaev might get traded to Bellator for either Usman Nurmagomedov or Paul Hughes. I don't see that happening. He was just a champion. That'd be crazy. But they also traded Demetrius Johnson, so anything's possible. But Yuri Prochazka, I'd give him Magomed Ankalaev because if Prochazka beats Ankalaev, then that shows that he literally is next in line for a title shot no matter what after the Pierre Alberg fight. And it's also a fight that we were kind of interested in because we thought that if Ankh beats Pierre in the rematch, then Prochazka literally is the only one that has a chance of beating him. So we kind of want to see that match anyway, despite him losing to Pierre. But it will show who will stay at the top of the division and then who will slightly fall off because people were worried that Prochazka was going to fall off if he lost a Roundtree, but it shows that that's not the case. So this next upcoming fight between, if they do Prochazka versus Ankalaev, will show who's going to rise and who's going to fall because they're both getting older. Ankalaev came in kind of young though, so he's only 33, so I guess he's got a few years left, but Prochazka's getting older, so that's why I'd give Yuri Prochazka. I think it'd be an entertaining fight. I think it'd be a bad matchup for Ankalaev, but Yuri literally said that he's going to start being more aggressive in his fights because he's shown that that's when he's at his strongest. So if he comes out aggressive, he could just knock out Ankalaev first round too, exactly like Pereira did. Moving on, Yusuf Salal getting his quick finish over Josh Emmett. I gave Yusuf Salal, excuse me, that's my next one. Sorry, you just learned who I'm giving him next. Yair Rodriguez, not Gregory Rodriguez. I think this is a very fun kickboxing matchup between Yusuf Zalal and Yair Rodriguez. They both have very interesting styles of kickboxing. They're both completely different. They're both very fast and very unique. So I think it'd be a very fun stand-up fight. Yair has shown that he can stop takedowns. So if Zalal tries taking it to the ground, it might not work all that well for him. But on the feet, it'd be a very entertaining fight. You could honestly make that a main event of a fight night, and everyone would not be disappointed with that after watching it. Name value, they might not like it that much, but overall, the fight would be an absolutely phenomenal fight. I don't really know who I'd pick. I'd probably lean towards Yair Rodriguez. I just hate that they're trying to give him a title shot after beating Patricio Pitbull because Pitbull's awful. But yeah, that's what I'd give you, Salal. It'd be a very entertaining main event of a fight night, or it could be a co-main of a fight night. But that's a very entertaining matchup that I'd like to see next for Yusuf Salal, and that'd be his another big step up for him. And if he wins that fight, then he'd be ready for a title shot. So that's what I'd give Yusuf Salal. And then the final fighter we talk about on the main card, Joe Pyfer. Like you said earlier, we kind of exposed it. Give Joe Pyfer Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory Rodriguez has shown that he's very tough, and that's kind of Joe Pyfer's next step into moving up into the rankings. I don't really know how that go because they're both very similar styles. RoboCop has shown time and time again that he's a very tough fighter, as Joe Pyfer has also shown that he's a very tough fighter. They both have knockout power. I'd say Pyfer has the better knockout power, though, so I'd probably pick Pyfer to win that fight. He's on a little bit of a run now, while Gregory Rodriguez is just getting older, and he's kind of been 50-50 recently, so that's why I'd give Joe Pyfer. It'd be a very underrated fight. It could be either a 3-round war or a quick finish for one or the other, but give me Joe Pyfer versus RoboCop in the next fight for Pyfer. Moving on to Thibaut Gauthier, finishing Tristan Vines in the first round very easily. Like I said, I want to give him a step up here. I want to give him a very balanced fighter who has finishing power on the feet and on the ground. So I give it Thibaut Gauthier, Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira he's on a little bit of a win streak now. I think he's won 3 of his last 4, if I'm not mistaken, but He's shown that he is able to stand with these unranked guys at this division, and that would be the perfect step up for Thibaut Gauthier, because if Gauthier wins that fight, you can either give him another huge increase in competition by giving him a ranked fighter, like 12 to 15 range, or you give him one final test before moving into the rankings. But you've gave him 3 bums in a row. It's time for him to get a step up. So give him Bruno Vieira, test him to see if he can stop the takedowns of Fiera and stop the submissions, and see if he can get yet another highlight reel knockout. So give me a Thibaut Gauthier versus Bruno Fiera. Next up, Daniel Santos. I want to give him a step up, but also give a chance for a veteran that's given us multiple wars over the years. So I gave Santos a step up in Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr has been getting unfortunate matchups between very good brawlers. Landwehr's getting older now, and he's fighting these young brawlers. So give him Daniel Santos. Santos is more of a balanced fighter. He's not more of a brawler. So I think Daniel Santos can brawl. It's just not to the level of these younger brawlers that Nate Landwehr has been fighting. I think Landwehr would finally have an easy matchup for him. Um, well, I wouldn't say easy matchup. I think it still would be a hard fight for Nate Landwehr, but it'd be a lot more easier for him in terms of stand up. He would have the advantage on the feet, which is why I think this would be a better fight for Nate Landwehr to get, because it's also a huge step down for him. So not huge, but it is a step down in some way. So give me Daniel Santos versus Nate Landwehr. That'd be a fun prelims fight, whether it's on pay per view or it's on a fight night card. So give me that fight for Daniel Santos. Moving on, Jakub Viklatz, like I said, his win is not impressive at all, but yet again, it is still a hard technical matchup for him, and he still was able to pull off the win. So, want to give him a slight increase in opponent. Not a ranked fighter, but someone that could show him, like, all right, you deserve to get a ranked fighter after this fight. So, give him Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez has shown that he's a very good unranked fighter. He'll beat everyone in the unrankings, but he loses and falls short to the guys in the rankings. So, give me Jakub Viklatz versus Jonathan Martinez. Martinez is a pretty balanced fighter, as is Jakub. So it'd be a very good matchup for both of them because they're fighting similar styles to themselves. But I think I'd probably pick Jakub to honestly win that fight just because of how unique his kickboxing style is on the feet. And he showed that he does have, he can lock in submissions. He just needs to get it in and get it in tight, because he can lock them in, but then they end up getting out of them. So give me Jakub Viklatz versus Jonathan Martinez. I think that'd be a very underrated fight, because I think you just need a good matchup for Jakub for it to be an entertaining fight. I wouldn't say the Apache Mix Jakub fight was all that awful. In terms of entertainment, it wasn't a boring fight, but it wasn't hugely entertaining. Next up, Edmund Shabazian getting his first round finish over Andre Muniz. I gave him Dustin Stoltzfus. Stoltzfus put on an absolute war against Kelvin Gastelum in his last fight. He did lose that fight, but Gastelum was overweight by, I believe it was like 4 pounds. So he fought at a disadvantage and still put on an absolute war. And Stoltzfus has been kind of having a revive, as has Edmund Shabazian. So both of them have been having a revive in their career. So let's put them both up against each other and let the best man win. Whoever wins that fight will probably get the luck of fighting a ranked opponent next, because they're both at the pretty top of the unranked division for their specific division. They're both very good on the feet. Well, actually, I don't know. Shabazian's pretty decent on the ground as well, so ground game might be pretty neck and neck as well. So it would be probably one of those fights where it's like a -105, +110 pick'em fight, because both of them are very similar fighters and even having similar careers in a way, because Stoltzfus fell off after having a win streak too. They started feeding him to prospects, and then he started losing. But now he's on a little bit of a comeback. But hopefully that Kelvin Gastelum fight doesn't set him back. So give me Edmund Shabazian versus Dustin Stoltzfus. That'd be a very fun fight to start off a fight night card. So that's what I'd give Edmund Shabazian. It's a very good matchup for him because it's a similar one. And then you can really push him into the rankings if he wins that fight. Next up, we have Yana Santos beating Macy Chasson. She's shown that she deserves to be at the top of this division, but their division is kind of, crowded right now with fights already happening, or, changes being made with people switching divisions. So I give Yana Santos, Aileen Perez. Perez has shown that she is going to continue dominating in this division so far. She's undefeated in the UFC. So give her a very tough test against Yana Santos, who has shown that she also deserves to be at the top of this division. And then whoever wins that fight, you might as well give them the title shot, because Yana Santos beating Macy Chassin, and then if she beats Aileen Perez, she beats a prospect and a veteran. And then if Aileen Perez wins, she stays undefeated in the UFC and then beats a top 5 fighter in Yana Santos. So very good matchup between Yana Santos and Aileen Perez. I'd probably lean towards Yana Santos. Maybe actually, maybe I'd lean towards Eileen Perez, because if you put the pressure on Santos, she starts to kind of lose her effectiveness. But that'd be a close fight to make, and I think it'd be the matchup that's perfect for Yana Santos. And then finally, we have Farid Basharat getting his impressive, dominant win over Chris Gutierrez. I think he deserves a ranked opponent. I think this shows. Chris Gutierrez is kind of a gatekeeper, I feel like, for this division of whether you're good or not, because he loses to pretty good fighters for the most part. So give Farid Basharat Rob Font. Rob Font just lost to David Martinez, and I think Rob Font's kind of shown that he's getting older and doesn't deserve to be ranked anymore. So just let Basharat get in the rankings so you can continue hyping him up. And I think Rob Font might also be the easiest matchup for him, just because Basharat, just like David Martinez, is a very fast kickboxer. So Basharat would piece up Rob Font. Rob Font would not be able to take it to the ground. It would just be another dominant win for Basharat. And then that bumped him up to like 13th in the rankings. And then you continue hyping him up as a undefeated fighter. So that's what I'd give Farid Basharat. But thank you guys for listening to this episode. Very entertaining card. We have the next 3 weeks planned out for collaborators for predictions on Instagram for our post. This next one is a huge collaboration with Soup's MMA Preview. I believe he's got like 12,000 followers on Instagram. So very huge collaboration coming up this weekend for UFC Rio between Charles Oliveira and Mateusz Gamrot. We're going to hopefully study as much as we can before making our predictions on Thursday. I'm going to try and win this one yet again, but very entertaining card coming up, as well as the next few, actually. I think the next 3 are pretty huge. So, the following weekend is going to be RDR versus Brendan Allen, so that's going to be another fun card. And then we have UFC 321 between Aspinall and Gane. So, got a very fun next 3 cards coming up here. Can't wait to talk to them with you guys. And with that being said, we're going to end off this podcast episode here. Predictions will be out on Thursday. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.